gang, and welcome back to the Movie Club Emporium. And we are in our third week of Neo-Noir November. And today we are going to be talking about a movie from, quite honestly, one of my low-key favorite directors. Is a filmmaker we've talked about every year of Neo-Noir November. And this may be kind of like him at the height of his sleazy power. We're talking about Brian De Palma's 1984 Body Double. Now this is kind of right there at the age. This is peak 80s De Palma. It's super sleazy. A mixture of Hitchcock and Giallo, an insane cast, an incredible soundtrack. The film stars Craig Wasson, who most of you will know from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Melanie Griffith, and Greg Henry. Craig Wasson is our main character, and he plays a struggling actor who is claustrophobic, and that comes into play. And he is house sitting for a newly met fellow actor played by Henry. It's this insane, like, UFO shaped house, like up in the Hollywood Hills. And he begins to obsess over a woman who lives down the hill that he's spying on, and murder and mystery and mayhem, and we go down dark tunnels through excess era 80s Hollywood. We dip our toes into the booming 80s adult film industry. And if all this sounds really familiar for you horror fans, it's because this movie, I believe, is probably the biggest inspiration for the end of Ty West's X trilogy, Maxine. So with the X trilogy, of course, with X, definitely is kind of his homage to Texas Chainsaw. Pearl is a blood-soaked like Judy Garland picture from like the 30s. Maxine is 100% 80s De Palma, and I believe it's this movie that it pulls from the most, even with the Hitchcock stuff, because this is essentially Brian De Palma's like 80s remake of Hitchcock's Vertigo, only with a lot more nudity. Some brutal Giallo-esque kills, and a full-blown music video in the middle of it. Melanie Griffith plays a adult film star who he is trying to protect from this insane, mysterious killer who used a giant drill. There is, again, I said, a full-blown music video in the middle of this film that was actually shot and was supposed to kind of be the music video for the song, and play on MTV, but it was way too raunchy. And that to me, and the song, of course, is, when you think of like insane 80s songs, it's Relaxed by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Is that De Palma, there's so much weird lore around this movie. De Palma initially wanted to make this kind of a bridge between adult films and mainstream movies. You know, he wanted this to be an X-rated. We were gonna have real scenes of sex. The character that Melanie Griffith plays, he originally planned to have a full-blown like adult film actress in that role, but the studio was like, "We're Universal. We're not doing that at all." But yeah, it was just going to be this weird kind of amalgamation of adult film / mainstream movie, kind of like where in a different way, of course. You know, there was Caligula, Deep Throat, even though it was an adult film, made its way into the mainstream audiences, and you know, all that stuff in the 70s and stuff. It's so wild, and this movie is so, when you think like sleazy Hollywood, especially in the 80s, it is this movie. Like, this movie encapsulates all of that. And again, I know De Palma takes a lot of flack for being kind of like considered just a rip-off of Hitchcock. And yeah, a lot of his stuff, he does draw a lot of inspiration from Hitchcock. With a lot of his films. But this one to me is the most, while it is, again, it is like his own like remake of Vertigo. A little bit of Rear Window thrown in as well. This is fully like, you can tell like De Palma loves him some Argento, because there's so much of this movie that feels like stuff like Tenebrae or Bird with the Crystal Plumage, like some really great classic Argento films, just covered in this neon, like gross, skeezy, but also like incredibly erotic in some places. It's a really weird amalgamation. But again, this movie's like the epitome of like when you think like skis, like not just like 80s Hollywood. It's this movie. There are, again, a lot of twists and turns. There's murders and frame jobs, and the whole scenario ends up being a part of that. So I don't want to spoil any of that. So make sure. I believe you can buy or rent it. I'm pretty sure you can find like a decent rip of it on YouTube by itself. Definitely worth a watch. And if you haven't seen the X trilogy, you know, tangent plug for those three films. Ty West and Mia Goth did incredible work. But go watch this, and if you have seen it, watch Body Double, and then go back and rewatch Maxine. And I think you're going to find a lot of love in that film for De Palma's Body Double. It is one of those movies that I think, for me, I think Blowout will always be my favorite De Palma, but this is easily top 5. It's a really fun movie. And I remember it's a movie that I saw like a few times on television, heavily edited, of course. And then if my mind is correct, I remember this being like on one of those like 6-hour recorded off of HBO during a free trial weekend VHSs my dad had of just the most random movies. You know, so it would have been like this, Hellraiser 2, Roadhouse, and like Full Metal Jacket. Like the weirdest amalgamation of movies. But I highly recommend Body Double. It's an absolute blast. It's super fun, super 80s. You know, Stranger Things is coming back. We really want to dig into some 80s stuff. Definitely worth your time. Definitely a fun, goofy. There's even a fourth wall break in this movie. Like, it's weird how wild De Palma is with this film. So I highly recommend it and say check it out. Next week will be our final Neo-Noir November. And we are going out this year's Neo-Noir November with a bang. Because it's that time of year again when I force my poor wife to indulge me in partaking of one David Lynch movie a year. Now, Nick and I, on a previous live stream, did a full Lynch retrospective, which she happily ignored me on and had nothing to do with. But she can't escape November. And this year, we are tackling probably the most, I don't want to quite say divisive, but it was certainly when it came out. A movie that I have not watched since high school. where Nick and I rented it without having seen the television show and had no idea what was happening. But now, having, of course, seen the series, which I'm sure Nick and I will talk about at some point, it's time to talk about the prequel film, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. So next week we will be joining Laura Palmer in her final days and seeing if we can solve the mystery of the Black Lodge and so much more. So you do not want to miss that. Plus, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, make you a big old plate of leftovers and join Nick and I, because the Neo train keeps going. We're covering Neo Westerns this year on this month in our monthly live stream, talking about 6 Neo Westerns from 6 very different films, all within the Neo Western genre. Horror films, sci-fi films, action thrillers, cop siege movies. You're not going to want to miss it. And then I know if you're doing the math right, you think, Jason, but after that, there's still one more week of December. And you're right, there is. Or November. But you see, that's because I needed 5 weeks for December. Because it's Christmas, and we're tackling some Christmas horror movies. And your friend here, good old Jason, is apparently a glutton for punishment, because he and we, the royal we, and hopefully you will join me, we're talking about the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. Now, there is a remake coming out, but we are talking about the 5 original films. Prepare yourselves, because this is going to feel like an old school binge, which is one of the first review shows we used to do, where I would sit down and watch a whole series start to finish. Not doing that, obviously, but for the entire month of December plus, we're going to be talking about this insane franchise of Silent Night, Deadly Night. There's, of course, Killer Santas. There are witches and bugs. There's an evil toy maker making a human-sized Pinocchio doll, and everything else in between. It's garbage day, so you're not going to miss next month. Also, I'm really good at this. Also, make sure you guys are tuning in every Sunday for all those reviews, but every Wednesday, show some love to our post-theater clarity. Nick is putting that theater pass to the test, and he's going to the movies every week, and he's dropping his own little reviews. He's a lot less rambly than I am, thankfully. So get you in and out. Check out those reviews. Those go up every Wednesday morning. And I will see you guys next week when we're talking backwards and talking to logs and talking to evil Bobs, and David Bowie's there too. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.